This time, I would like to call to order the meeting of the County Commissioners on Monday, September the 26th, 2022. You'll please stand. I'll lead us in the invocation, followed by the pledge. Dear Heavenly Father, as we come to you today, we'd like to thank you for all your many blessings. We'd like to thank you for allowing us to be here to do the business of Stokes County. We ask for your guidance, your wisdom as we make decisions. We ask that you be with us as we return home today and keep us safe. We ask that hopefully this storm that's fixing to come through Florida and head up our way, that it would hopefully not be something catastrophic and the damage would be minimal and no lives would be lost. And it's in your name that we ask these things. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you all for being here today. This time, I'm going to ask for the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes, additions, corrections to the agenda?
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Now is the public comments, which there were none. Is there anybody here to speak for public comments that didn't sign up?
Is that where I can make a request for something?
Sure. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Steve Brady, 1074 Fletch Hall Road. Requesting that Fletch Hall Road be paved. I moved up here 25 years ago, and they said we were on the list, and it still hasn't been paved yet. There's two of us left on that road right now, but I mean, if you pave it down to where both of our driveways are, it's like 0.3 of a mile or so. But it's the crush run that y'all put down is miserable. I mean, you can see a dust cloud from space when you go down the road. But I would like that to be paved if I could.
Tell me the name of the road again.
Fletch Hall, Fletch.
Can you tell me where that's located at?
Right off Steel Road, from 704 on to Steel, it's
Sandy Ridge
1.7 miles down.
Sandy Ridge area.
Sandy Ridge,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Shannon, do you?
I can check with the NCDOT, but the county doesn't handle road issues.
It's like
As far as us, the
DOT.
DOT, they would send us a list of roads that were to be paved.
Right.
And I can check with our engineer that's in charge of our district and ask him where that road's at on the list as far as roads to be paved. But as far as the county part of that, we wouldn't have anything to do with the actual paving.
I didn't know, that's why I
It's all
Yeah,
DOT.
we can
state.
definitely check into it though.
But I can try to get you an answer. If you want to leave me your contact info and I've got your road name dated, I can
Right.
check with our district engineer and see where they're at on that.
Okay, all right, that's all.
Absolutely.
We'll try to light a fire under. if we
25
can.
years long, so thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for coming today. All right. At this time, I'm going to move to comments from our commissioners and manager, and I'll start down here with Commissioner Morris.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have any comments other than to welcome everybody. We appreciate your participation in our meeting, and that goes for those who might be online as well. Thank you very much.
All right, Commissioner Nicholson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, it's good to see everybody here. It's definitely glad to be back in the meeting. I appreciate all the phone calls, text messages, people who came by and checking on me. Seem to be healing quite better than what they think. So definitely at a faster pace than Mr. Mendenhall here. So I should be up and running here soon. But that's all I had. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, Commissioner Mendenhall.
Thanks, thank you, Commissioner.
Always. Thinking of you.
No, it's good to see everybody. Thank you for coming out. Boy, it's a beautiful day. I hope this meeting can move rather quickly. I'd like to be outside and feel the fall breeze out there today, and it really feels good. And thank y'all for coming out, though. I appreciate it. Anytime you come out to participate in the governmental process makes me feel good, and for everybody that's online watching, I'd like to say hello and thank you also for participating, and that's about all I have for today, Madam Chair.
All right. Go ahead.
Again, it's great to see each and every one of you, especially on a beautiful day like today, to be sitting inside a building. I hope each and every one of you had a great weekend, and thank you for being here.
And I'd like to echo what my fellow commissioners said. It's good to see everybody here, even though most of y'all work here or roundabouts here. But we do appreciate everybody that's here and the interest in everybody watching online. And like I said in my prayer, we want to remember Florida and this side of the country that may be impacted by this storm. And hopefully our emergency management people are, I'm sure, ready to go to help in any way needed if something does occur. So I'll give it to Shannon Shaver.
It's nice to see everybody here. I'm glad to see the Mitchells here and look forward to hearing some information about all of your exciting news. And again, like everybody else has reiterated about the storm, I hope certainly that holds off and is not damage into our area. And a personal reason, we have a wedding this weekend for my daughter that I hope we don't have a tropical storm going on while that's going on. If we do, I guess we'll make it work. So it's going to be good. So thank you all for being here, and never hesitate to reach out if you need us for anything. Just like the gentleman about the road, we're always willing to look into anything for anybody and try to help you with that information. So.
Yeah, we've got King Fest this weekend too, and I hope it's not a repeat of the slosh that we had up there. So hopefully it won't be, and it'll move on through and move on out. All right, at this time I'll read the conflict of interest statement. Before moving any further, does any board member have a conflict of interest with any of the items on the agenda today, or one that could be perceived as a conflict of interest?
Madam Chair, I do.
Okay.
I'd like to recuse myself from, let's see where it is at. Under the discussion agenda, item B, it's meat processing building reuse grant.
Okay.
I have some connections to that, and I need to recuse myself.
All right.
I contacted our attorney here today, and he agrees I need to recuse myself on that.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, we got that noted.
Thank you.
All right. We'll move on to the consent agenda, which includes the budget amendments, the resolution establishing a capital reserve fund, the capital project ordinance for the animal shelter, the project ordinance amendments for the green box sites. Is there any questions about those?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The information agenda, which is the proposals for hospital needs assessment, feasibility study, and market analysis. And Glenda.
Good afternoon. We closed the RFP process for the hospital needs assessment and feasibility study. It was on September 12th. We received several proposals. I have for each of you, at the end of the meeting, I'll pass them all out to you, a binder that has a copy of the RFP, evaluation criteria that we had in our RFP, like a worksheet for you to kind of make notes on and things, and our proposals. Each one has a proposal that was submitted. With Diana's help in IT, she helped me make copies of all of them. They had actually sent them electronically for us to be able to share with you all. I thought it would be easier. Sometimes looking on a computer screen is hard to make notes, so we just did copies for you all. Make sure that you get one before you leave today if I miss you. Shannon, Amber, and I are going to get together in the next few days, weeks, to try to make a recommendation to you all on our recommendations that we would like to give. I'm here to ask the board also when you would like to put this on discussion. October the 10th or October the 24th are our next two meetings. I'm open for whichever one you all would prefer. You don't have to let me know today, just that way we know to get it on the agenda again. They are pretty thick. They have a lot of information. I've started reviewing a couple of them, but they are lots of information to absorb. So just keep that in mind when you all would like to put it back on for discussion.
So basically, I'm sorry, these are just RFPs for us to decide on a company to do the market analysis, to do the feasibility study. So this time they really haven't done any of the study type things.
No, this is just for us to choose, you all as a board to choose who you would like to proceed with that portion.
Well, go ahead.
Well, let us see the package and y'all have, Do you think you would have enough time to present it to us by the October 10th, or do you need more time?
I would prefer the latter. I think that would give us more time to be able to review them more in depth.
Okay.
Like I said, I have started, I'm on number 2, and so they are pretty thick. Lots of information to absorb.
They don't expire, though. They won't expire, will they?
No.
For how long?
In our RFP, we kind of told them we wouldn't make a decision until that last week of October. So I think if, we all review them, that gives us a little bit extra time to be able to evaluate them properly. And
What we
then
could do
can
is put it on there so that, I just envision in a couple weeks from now, we look over and we're gonna have questions that we might wanna ask, and you might need to get answers for us before we make a decision.
Yes.
So if we were gonna try to make a decision at the end of October, maybe we could make it a discussion item next time, just so we could ask board members what kind of questions have popped up since you've started looking through them.
And that's fine too. I'm good with whichever y'all prefer.
So that way it could be on there twice, just to
Yes.
give us time to get our questions answered. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes,
All right.
that works for us. So we'll plan on doing October the 10th as kind of discussion, just whatever we need to do, and then if we just need to go on to the next one, that'll be fine.
Yeah, that
Okay.
sounds good.
That sounds good.
The binder has all the proposals in it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it has all the proposals, it has a copy of the RFP, so you all have that in the front, and then at the beginning of each one, I kind of tab them, but at the beginning of each one, it has the criteria sheet that we kind of had in our proposals, so you can make notes on, and kind of, that sometimes makes it easier when you're evaluating.
I think back to being chair of the school board at times when we were hiring superintendents. And sometimes we would get these packets with like 36 applicants, and we would think, oh, we're going to need a lot of time. But then when you start looking through them, you're like, I got, my top 5 pretty quick. So, it may be that by the next meeting, we've narrowed it down to 2 or 3 that we need to focus on and get more questions or
And pretty
whatever.
much everyone who submitted a proposal, I kind of let them know that this was kind of our process we were going to do, that I was submitting it to you all today as information, and then we would reach back out. All of them have been very open, and if we needed anything or had any questions, they could ask
Right.
specifically to reach out. So
Right.
all 7 of them have been very good about responding back and getting me the information to be able to get to you all.
Well, that's important, because that would be one of my questions, would be how responsive have they been so far,
Yes,
to-
they've been, all 7 of them have been really good about responding quickly.
Okay, good deal.
So, okay.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you for the information and compiling that for us. All right. So the first item on discussion is the tax office agenda. We've got Richard Brim here to present that to us. Thank you, Richard.
Good afternoon. First item, like always, is the monthly tax office collection status report. Off to a good start for this fiscal year. We've collected a little over $14.1 million, or roughly 54.47% of the amount budgeted for fiscal year 22-23. Next item, we have real and personal releases. That's less than $100. There's 22 accounts that total $660.99. Then we have refunds less than 100. That's 5 bills that total $189.25. And then releases more than 100. We have 19 accounts that total $8,075.34. Then the final item is real and personal refunds more than 100. That's 15 accounts that total $7,964.33. We have 2 late applications for disabled veterans. We have 12 late applications for elderly exemption, and we have 2 late use value deferment applications. Also, I have the 2% discount for early payment for tax year 2022, followed by the previous 5 years, broke out by tax district. And then the final item is the public utilities that are broke down by tax district. The county value has increased from roughly $813 million to just a little over $856 million. That's roughly a $43 million increase. That means about $267,000 in additional revenue that wasn't budgeted for this fiscal year. That's all I have.
All right, are there any questions about the tax report?
Very informative. Yep.
I would like to request to
That
move the
one
releases more than
just have
and
to plug in
refunds
the-
more than 100, and the late disabled veterans, late elderly exemption, and the use value deferment applications to the October 10th consent agenda.
All right. Say that one more time. I'm trying to get my battery going on my computer.
Would like to request the following items be moved to the October 10th consent agenda.
Okay.
That's real and personal releases and refunds that's more than 100, and then your late applications for disabled veterans, elderly exemption, and use value deferment.
Okay, to October 10th.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we'll do it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item B is Mitchell's Meat Processing, the building reuse grant. And we have Tori Mabe and Will Carter, and we have the Mitchells.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, on this beautiful day. Yeah, I'm happy to report to you that Mitchell Meat Processing is growing and that they have been pre-approved for a $200,000 building reuse grant. That grant requires a county 5% match, which is equivalent to $10,000. Spoke with Nick, and he said that there's a certain process. We've got to have a public hearing and some different things. But we wanted to come to you today and asked if you would consider the 5% match and us moving forward with this.
All right.
We're here for any questions you got. Yeah.
Basically, we're taking the old Oakley's building and turning it into a butcher shop. We're adding in a smoker so that we can do ready-to-eat products to tap into that market of Hanging Rock visitors and give us an opportunity to showcase our superior quality meats that you can get versus anywhere else.
Go ahead.
I see it's just much needed here in our county, and also I don't have a problem with this match on this, because with the business coming in, the jobs coming in, it's going to make up itself, and that's money we didn't have before to begin with. So just let you know, congratulations on expanding. I am in favor of it. Thank you.
I'm also would support the 10K match, and I'm really pleased that you guys are doing that.
You're recusing, but do you want to have any
I
comment?
just,
You can't,
yeah.
can't comment.
I just think, I better not comment.
Okay.
It's great to see your business growing. I like to see any business in county grow. And you right there at the intersection, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right close to it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Right
right.
across from Meadows Automotive.
Meadows Automotive right there. Okay. Yeah. Good location.
You got any questions about it?
No, I'm supportive of it.
Yeah, okay. I'm supportive of it as well. I think any time you see a business growing local, like y'all have done, and in the world and the economy right now, that, you know, if you can, a local product, a good product like you're doing, and I think it's going to be needed. Certainly watching the news and TikTok videos, I'm probably a little concerned about what the meat processing and what I feel like there's a push to get people not to eat meat and to do all this plant-based stuff, and that's just not me. And I like to know that if I know it's locally sourced, like you guys, that's even better. So I think it's going to be a very needed thing in the future. So I'm excited for you to expand. My question is, as far as the legalities of the contract and the grant, and I know there's some haste to getting this done sooner
Yes,
than
ma'am.
later.
Yes, ma'am. And that's the Department of Commerce that's kind of put us behind the 8 ball. And part of the rules that they have in place for the building reuse grant, the building has to be vacant 6 months prior or occupied for a full year. So that small window of time is when Carl's trying to get things ready and get open and start hiring people, and we don't want to have to postpone that or anything. But if he goes ahead and does it, then he's not eligible for the grant. So, I mean, it's a catch-22, and they've put us behind the 8 ball because Commerce just spoke with us and told us we were pre-approved a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I mean, and we've already had the conference call with them and told them, look, guys, we've got certain things we've got to do. And they said, well, please get it to us as soon as you can, you know, because they want to have it for the October full board meeting.
Yeah, the only thing I can do prior to the grant award without interfering with it is demolition. Obviously, we're on that already.
And then he would just have to stop and wait. You know, it would halt the process.
That's good, I guess, to hear that you're pre-approved for something.
Right.
That's always
Right.
good.
And, you know, the board and the citizens, y'all are probably aware, because you've heard Carl or myself speak of it before, but we take our cattle farmers in the county that'll carry a cow to sale for $800 or $1,000. You can carry them to call and have it processed and get $2,800. I mean, it's huge for the cattle farmers in the county. You know, it's a much needed service, and what he and Christy are doing is just awesome for a lot of people in the county. It's going,
The value added portion of that,
Right.
that building, where we can do things like cured bacon, for our farm customers, is significant, improvement on their, revenue gain too, so.
right,
That's one of our main targets, to make sure that we can get as much dollars back to our farmers as we can.
yeah,
All
so-
right. As far as the contract and the legal stuff, is that good to go, or how quickly can we expedite that?
Well, it's difficult to say for sure. The statute requires an agreement to be in place between the county and the business that's going to benefit from the grant. And from what Ty has researched, that agreement has to be preceded by a public hearing. So the most that we think could happen right now is some kind of resolution in support of this happening to show the economic development folks that the county's on board behind this, but that would need to have language that says it's pending completion of the statutory requirements. That makes sense.
You could just say you were in support of it, and that the appropriate action would follow, and then you could do the public hearing. And
think
with
the-
dynamic solutions that time, where you that process, the same that you do there.
We need to do that today. So just say that we're in support of it. Does that need to be action, like an actionable
I think so.
thing?
And we can work on some language while other things are going on.
Okay. All
Resolution.
right, well, we'll try to put a, let's see where we're at on the action.
Resolution need to have the funding source, which would be economic development, I guess, right?
Yeah, I just want to
In
be
the
sure that
resolution.
the language doesn't bind the county to the matching commitment yet until that public hearing is had.
Okay, but we've got funding in economic development, we could pay the grant, the match.
And there is language in the contract that comes from the Department of Commerce.
Okay.
That places the burden on us to repay. I don't think you guys have read it yet, I just got an example from, our contact with the Department of Commerce.
Okay, great. We can look at that.
Would it have to be a resolution, or could it be just a letter of support? Does it need to be in the document?
I mean, whatever the board will do, we'll take and send to them, but it says resolution in the things that it asks for, but.
When do we need to have the public hearing?
As soon as
You'd have to-
possible.
You'd have to call the public hearing, which as soon as you could do it would be your next meeting, which would be October the 10th. And at that time, you could have the agreement on discussion, and then you can move the agreement to action for the following meeting. I would say you wouldn't move at the same meeting, because you need to have the public hearing and do that. So it would take you 2 meetings total to do the whole process,
Does that meet your schedule and everything if we do it on that?
as long as this resolution is.
Yeah, as long
If
as
we
it's
can,
Yeah.
so this meeting and the next meeting, we can be.
So,
Well, we got to have 2 more after this.
Just see if you do the
Get the final
agreement, this plug.
the agreement. So if you could do the resolution as far as the intent to do it today, to support it. And then the next meeting, you call the public hearing for October the 10th. You can have on discussion the agreement, the language of the agreement, and move that to action for the following meeting on October the 24th. But if what you're needing is the resolution approved, we can work on that and try to get
No
that done
power,
today.
no power to this switch.
How about getting it today and getting it signed and everything, right? By who, you or us?
The resolution, I would say that you all
I
would
think
sign
this
it.
don't work.
We do that before we leave today?
Yeah, for sure.
It's that reach, get that resolution on.
That's what I recommend doing it before we leave today then.
Just make a note that
If we need to change something, to it, we're not gonna change it right quick.
I'll be looking over it.
Okay.
Nick, I can probably try
Where
to
to
see
end.
what we did most recently, that was the same kind of
redid
concept.
all this, maybe they didn't.
That might help.
All right, we'll work on it.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. Yes,
Great
exciting
to-
times.
It's
Town's
great to
growing.
see you. Meats made it all the way over to the LTD over in King.
Yeah.
I saw it a couple of weeks ago.
When do you plan to try to open, Carl? When do you plan to try to have it open? Have you got?
If we can, so we're trying to get everything lined up so that once we're fully approved in October, have our contractors ready to go, be able to start in January.
2020, okay, good, great.
There's quite a bit of work that needs to be done. Get USDA approved and all.
Yeah.
Corey, you got anything you want to add? Well, you just came to look pretty. All right, well, we'll try to get that, we'll put that on action, item D, and between now and we get there, we'll have something worked out about if it's an intent or to approve or whatever.
You have to sign the resolution today, though, we said.
Okay, I was busy trying to find power for my laptop. Okay, so we're gonna do that item D today? Okay, all right, moving on. Item C is a resolution for overpayment of the excise stamp tax.
I believe I'm taking that this
All right.
afternoon. In Brandon's absence, you all may recall that he discussed with you the new statutes or the amendments to the statutes that allow for an expedited fashion in refunding or approving the refunding of excise taxes that have been paid or overpaid by mistake. So this resolution we have for you today just makes note of the statute and the amendment to it and authorizes either the county manager and the finance officer each to be able to grant those requests for refunds of the excise tax that might have been overpaid.
All right.
We need to
Members.
move this resolution to action today. I was just asking if there was any urgency to move it.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, we'll have that on action for October 10th. All right. If there's no more questions.
No question.
Okay. All right, item D is the sheriff's office pay request, and we have Sheriff Joey Lemons with us and Eric Cohn.
Good afternoon, how are y'all?
Good, how are y'all?
Appreciate the opportunity to come before you, and I wish I wasn't here before you, because what I'm here for is what everybody else comes to for, that's for me. We're in a situation at the sheriff's office, and we're not alone. A lot of law enforcement agencies around us are in the same boat. We're losing officers both in our agencies, we're losing to the private sector, and we're getting to a point where it's starting to get pretty critical with the amount of turnover that we've had. My recommendation, or what I'm asking the board to consider, a few different things. One is reclassifying each position within the sheriff's office. Not mine, I'm not asking for a single any for myself. But each deputy would be reclassified one position up, still maintaining in the pay study that this board approved. It would just be going from one grade up to the next grade. So that's what we'll do. I know Lisa can get into I think she's got the numbers and all, and she can go more in depth with that. Just to give you an idea of where we're at and why we're here right now. Currently, I have one position open as a records clerk, with a clerical type position. I have one detention officer position. Empty. I have two bailiffs positions and four positions on my routine patrol. I guess the question that all of you would ask is, will this fix it? Short answer is, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know. But I know not doing something is certainly gonna keep getting the same results. We've lost some experience in our sheriff's office, and anytime that you lose experience, it costs money, no matter whether it be law enforcement or whatever sector you're in. It costs money to train people, and we have to make pretty significant investments in these deputies and detention staff and our clerical positions to get them into these positions and get them where they're work ready. And so one of the main goals of this is not only to retain the experience that we have here in the county, but also as a way to try to recruit people from other agencies. I asked my captains last week, and they gave me this number, and it was honestly, it was higher than I thought. I asked them, so how many people have officers from other agencies have reached out to us to ask maybe about coming here? They said they wouldn't hesitate saying probably 20 people within the last few months have called asking about coming, interested in positions here in Stokes County until we gave them the number. We gave them what that salary was. These are larger agencies. They expected to take a little bit of a pay cut, but it was going to be too much. One in particular was from a much smaller agency, and he said he was going to be taking $5,000 pay cut from a smaller agency to come here. I realize this is mid-budget. I'm not asking for the moon. Right now, I think as the budget process for next year comes back around, we need to really sit and maybe try to make some very difficult decisions and see if we can go forward. But I'm hoping this will be kind of a stopgap between now and then. So that's the reclassification in the full-time positions. Also asking for a raise for our part-time positions. We do rely on part-time deputies in different operations within the sheriff's office. Paying for those deputy sheriffs is $16.17 an hour. Pull up the internet and look at Chick-fil-A and McDonald's and all these other places are paying $20 an hour to work there. We're giving them a badge and a gun.
They're risking their lives.
Risking their life, exactly. So my request there is for that to be raised to $18.50 for the more positions, and then utilize some part-time clerical work and raising that from its current level, which is 11 up to $13.50, just to bring it in line. I think the faster that if the board agrees to go forward with this, the quicker we can do it, the quicker we'll know if it's working or not. So if we can implement it that way, when we start having these budget discussions, next year rolls around, we'll know sort of where we're at and if it's working or not, and where we need to go forward or whatever. So I would like to do it as quickly as possible. We'll get to start helping with that curve. Also, in that same light, we're also requesting the ability to pay overtime for deputies who are called in to cover shifts that are short. As you well know, currently deputies receive comp time for any time that they work over. We are only looking to pay the overtime when they are called in by a member of my administration, when they're called in to cover a shift. This is not, they work 30 minutes over, they were late getting home or whatever. That would still be handled with the comp time. But the overtime, we're having to cover shifts. Depending on what's going on, guys are having to, we work on the schedule, you work 2 days, off 2 days, and we work 3 days. And so we're having to have deputies come in and cover shifts just so we make sure that the entire thing is covered so that we call 911, we're not too far away. I appreciate it. I'd be glad to answer any questions. Yes, and a December 31st sunset on that overtime thing. Let's see, I'm hoping that would just be a stopgap right now to help cover these positions until we can start hiring people and bringing people in, which is what I'm hoping the reclassification will do. And so I'm only requesting that overtime until December 31st. We'll sit down with the county manager and decide if that's something that we go further or hopefully we can sunset.
Part-time will be paid, but we'll cover that. As far as, the only other thing I'd add is on that part-time request that he makes, going to $18.50 an hour, currently we'll be able to cover that change. So that would be no additional revenue request and increasing a part-time line item for that. It's just merely a board approval just to change the salary rate.
Any questions?
Yeah, sure. I'm sure we've got some. Rick, you want to start?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Yeah, just a few things, Joey. I understand the short that we're having a real problem with law enforcement across the country, and no different here for a lot of different political reasons and other things. Let me just go through a couple quick questions. On the overtime, you have an estimate of what that would cost between now and December, if y'all looked at that, or?
I don't think it's going to be astronomical, but I think there'll be some there. It's obviously going to depend on if this reclassification gets passed. Then we can have the conversations with those folks who have inquired about coming here. We can get those positions filled, and that request is not, we're not going to need that money.
I'm assuming the classifications are passed with my question.
I would think it would be minimal.
Okay,
Between now and December 31st, we currently have that in place at the jail for when they are scheduled by the administrator to come in and cover a shift. And that's it's minimal.
okay.
It's not minimal about it.
Okay, good. Then second thing is, I would like to, given we approve all of this that you requested, which I'll support doing, if you could really measure closely to see if it worked or not between now and the next budget. I think, in our pay plan we had done, there's a process in there for upgrading, reviewing where you're at compared to the rest of the community. And so we probably need to not only review your department, but see if there are other problem areas that we also would need to look at the pay scale too.
And I think it's important to point out, and I didn't mention this in my comments, but that we're so thankful, for the salary increases that we were given under that study. At the same time, that data was from 2017.
Yeah. One other area I'd like for you guys, and really maybe HR more to think about than you guys, but as we go through this process during the next budget cycle, is trying to understand what, assuming we have competitive pay, what other things could we look at that might make working here more attractive, so that we can kind of approach this from a combined effort instead of, because like you said, and I would give the same answer you did, when we're going to do this and we don't know if it'll work or not. So if we could better understand what other things might also help, we might be able to kind of project this stuff better in the future. But I'll talk to Gail and them about doing that. Maybe even surveying people to ask them what's important besides your pay if you're given competitive pay. On the recruiting, you don't think that'll be an issue since people have already been calling? You think you got enough increase here that those same people would maybe reconsider?
I think so.
Okay.
We're going to reach out to them here in about an hour.
Oh, okay.
We're hoping to keep them on the hook. And so they reached out to us. They were interested. It's not like we've gone to other agencies trying to get people to leave, but they reached out to come here. They just didn't like the numbers.
That's from agencies outside the county even?
Yes.
Okay, great. The only other question I had, you had one in there that went up 2 grades, a detective. Is that based on the fact that it's more difficult to get those, or?
Yes, so we put that in there because in the past, before the salary study, detectives and sergeants used to be on the same pay grade.
Mm-hmm.
And the salary study bumped the detective down to the corporal level. We put it in the middle, sort of in between, because one thing that our detectives do, the regular road officers don't, is they're on call.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't receive any on-call pay.
Okay.
So the differential between those positions, keeping in line with what the salary study did and recommended by it being lower than necessarily a sergeant, but also giving them that in between to help compensate for the time that they are on call.
Okay. Well, I'm in favor of doing this very quickly in order for what Eric said to hopefully get it moving quick enough to minimize the overtime pay, so I'm on board.
All right, Commissioner Nicholson.
Joey, in the past fiscal year, what kind of turnover rate has your office experienced?
Best I can think, I think we lost 7 positions. Does that sound? That's been just this year, and that's been from that's not counting retirements, and that's been road officer position, jail position, probably more than that in the jail. Luckily, right now we're not sitting on the number of vacancies in the jail that we have. Trying to do this to keep that from that.
Right. Well, was one of the reasons why it was because of the pay? They went and found something.
Everybody's told me.
Really?
Both in the private sector and to other law enforcement agencies. Everyone's told me he's been paid. Chief will say otherwise. I don't know if he's.
There are a few opportunities for the officers to do off-duty jobs to try to make some additional revenue. And I can give you one example where he said the private sector offered him the ability to make what he was making plus what he was making on off-duty gigs. So he did not have to go and stay away from his family more. It gave him a chance to take this job and go home, kind of thing. And so, some have gone back to, like I said, in the construction world, different things, just because I hate to sort of disparity there.
Gotcha. Okay.
And again, I want to reiterate again, I think going forward, especially coming into next year, if we find this successful, I really want to sit down and do a comprehensive look through our salaries. Agencies, whatever we have to do. But I think this was something, I thought this was reasonable. the numbers of what those positions would go. You know, it may not sound like a whole lot, but I realize we're on agency, and so when that spreads out, that ends up being right. To echo again what I said, what they're working on.
Right. And they're really biased, because I know this board's trying to be proactive with the salary study and trying to get a lot of this stuff solved, and it seemed like just as soon as it got done, inflation hit. So yeah, it really wasn't, it didn't do as much good, but it did help out some.
Absolutely. And we're in a different spot than we were even, you know, we presented the budget that we're working under was presented, you know, back in April. We're in a different world than we were
Right.
in April. And on the law enforcement side, I could definitely, I've seen the trend for governance.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right.
Yeah, Joy, I am extremely supportive of this, what you put before us today. I would just say some things that have been said already by some of our other commissioners. When you're trying to attract or retain personnel, pay is definitely a big part of that. You know, if they can travel to Surrey County and get more money and just drive. So pay is always one of the top things that attracts people in. However, it's already been said by some of our other commissioners, also, there are other things besides pay to make your work environment attractive. And the key here is can you find what those other things that will help not only just pay, but what else can help bring them to Stokes County? And it's sort of a total package deal of what all can we present to a person we interview that will make them want to work for you and the county. So the pay is definitely a factor. And as you said, hey, you know, this inflation, you know, you go to the grocery store. I have to do the grocery shopping now because if I send my wife, she'll spend $250 for what I could have got for $150. When I come out of there, I'm very particular about what I buy when I go in that grocery store. But when she gets that buggy, starts down that aisle,
She wants
it's
pumpkin spice everything,
it's
don't
always,
she?
honey, I won't spend but this, and then she comes back and she spent twice that. But the key, in all honesty, I'm definitely supportive of this, and I want you to know that. I just think, as Ben said, you want to see, are there other things that also will bring them in other than increased pay?
And I will say, I do want to add that in the last, I know since I took office even before that, I can definitely say, and you're still the sheriff's office already right now, we have the best equipment we have. We have the best vehicles we've ever had. We have made, and I'll speak to the last 2 years that I've been sheriff, we made some significant investments in our equipment to make sure. We'll continue to do that, because you're absolutely right. I'm the last person who would say throw in money. That's something is a way to fix it. When people are talking about we need that they're not paid enough, that's the only way. You're absolutely right. We just keep up with what the trends are with our competing agencies around us.
Thank you, Joey. That's all I have, Madam
All
Chair.
right.
Sheriff, you know I've supported of you, other than some of the other board members. I guess I interact with the deputies more than anybody in this room, other than being law enforcement, being with the fire department, because I speak to them basically about every other day. And the ones that did leave, when I approached them and I talked to them, you know, and that was their big thing was the money, you know. And a couple of them told us, said, you know, y'all get the money right, we'll come back. But what we really need to look at, and I understand we go out to hire people, bring them in from other counties in here, but they don't know our county like these guys did that left. And when you're in an emergency situation, like in y'all's job, it makes a big difference when you call for a deputy somebody shooting at you or somebody got a knife in your throat, it makes a big difference. Cause we're sitting back waiting on y'all to get there. And I totally understand that. And the other thing I saw the other day, I was gonna ask you this question. If you hire a deputy out of county, say Surrey, Forsyth, whatever, is he allowed to drive his car home with him?
Yeah, we have a 20-mile.
Okay, because the reason I asked that question, I just seen one this past weekend from Guilford County, sitting on 66.
And that was something that was implemented a little while back, and it was simply for retention, because sort of other counties were allowing it, and so that was an incentive that we could offer out there, say, hey, we'll let you drive your car.
And that's going back to what Commissioner Marshall said earlier, can we offer a little incentive, for them to, come here and do that? So I see them from Winston-Salem now, Davie County, all the way up 66 where I live now. There's probably 5 different out-of-county agents live on 66 next to us. So that's just. But again, I'm supportive of you 100%.
Yeah, and I too am very supportive of your request. There's been times I've tried to talk to my son about coming to Stokes or to King PD or whatever, and even, he's been with Winston 7 years, but it comes back to the money, and they're 100 and some officers short down there, and they just gave a 14% in 1 year increase to them. So just saying, it is, the competitive pay is critical and as close as we can get to surrounding areas. And I know we always ran into that with schools because we couldn't pay the teachers what some surrounding areas could pay, but that we do have a lot to offer here that other areas don't have. And I think but when we're in a recession like we are right now, the money is the bottom line. And so, I think there are opportunities here in Stokes that some would love to take advantage of if the money was right. And have you thought about offering a sign-in bonus like some of the other agencies are doing?
So that is something we've kicked around.
It's kind of a double-edged sword in a way.
I hate for the people who've stuck with us and
Right.
everything and then have somebody
Right.
outside of a big sign on us.
Yeah.
So we're hoping with what we presented here, that it's more equitable across the board for people who have stayed here with us and try to recruit somebody from the outside.
Well, as we get into the next budget cycle, sort of like what Commissioner Morris mentioned, we probably should have someone do a market analysis of, what exactly is the competitive rates and how far are we off, because like you said, the salary study was started in 2017, so there may be some bigger disparities than what we're aware of there. But I will say I'm very supportive of it, and one of the main reasons is that I think when you're shorthanded and you have to bring in these people that are, maybe it's their day off or whatever, but they're covering because they've got to. But if you don't have enough patrol out there, it's dangerous for our community. It's a safety issue. It's dangerous for the officers that are out there when there's not as many of them on patrol and they're scattered out further. So it's a safety issue for our communities and the officers. So that being said, that's enough for me to definitely support it. So we will support it, and we will move it to action today if that's okay with everybody. And then we will look at this further in budget next year. Thank you. So that'll become item E on action. Will be how do you want to put that, just the pay grade changes for Sheriff's Department?
And also that temporary, that he asked for overtime.
Overtime.
Through December 31st when it.
Temporary overtime, okay. All right. That becomes item E. All right, item E on discussion is the JCPC appointment request.
So there are 2 vacancies on the Stokes County Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. They are recommending the appointment of 2 members to fill these vacancies. Carlos Doggett as a BOCC appointee and Laney Roberson as the student appointee. And a letter from the chair is also attached detailing this.
Okay, got the letter. However, there's nothing about either of these people, no indication of why they think they're, would be good to be on the board. I have no idea who either of these people are, nor anything about them personally or their employment, or not the student. I'm not really talking about the student, but so I would like more detailed information before we have this on action.
Madam Chair, who's our board member that serves on JCP?
It's me.
It's you.
Yeah. And I still don't know. Okay.
I can.
However, I was on vacation last week when JCPC met.
Okay.
But Amber, did you go?
I did go.
Amber's on it as well, so. Was there any more information given at that?
No.
Okay, well, there you go. I didn't miss much then.
Not on this request.
Not on
no,
this
ma'am.
anyway.
I
Okay.
know your student one that's on there is Lainey Roberson, it says. I know she was a student at South Stokes that just graduated, and she was in charge of almost every club at South Stokes, and she's a student at Appalachian now. So I would say she'd be a very good student representative for your JCPC, just from past experience of serving on that committee too.
I'm assuming she would be virtual then.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Well, if you
Next
want
year.
to go ahead and move forward with the process here, I can request that from Rich Smith or Chair Jerry McGee and get some more information on the Carlos Doggett appointee. And we can have that on action next time, and that way you can
All
always
right.
nominate somebody else at the next meeting if that information is not
All
your
right.
liking.
Okay, so I'll open the floor for any further nominations. There are none.
Move nomination to be closed.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do I poll the board now, or we wait till we do action? Okay, all right, so no other nominations on that? Okay, that sounds good. The next item is the resolution for grant application for the Stokes Danbury Meadows interconnection.
And this is the same water project that we've been working on for a couple of years now, different phases of it. This is actually a pretty positive resolution that we're asking for approval for today. Mark Lacey with LKC reached out, and they just started working on a new application with NCDEQ's fall submittal. This would actually, if we get approved for this, it would convert our loan portion, which if you remember, the whole project total is like a little over $5 million. And the last time they were here presenting, the 3.9 was going to be in the form of a grant, a forgivable loan. And the county was going to be responsible for a little over 1.3 plus the 2% closing cost. If this is approved in this new round of applications, it would actually take that 1.3 portion the county is now responsible for and turn it into a forgivable loan as well, meaning all we'd be responsible for is the 2% closing cost. So there's really no bad thing about approving this resolution. It just will get us to the next step of applying for this, and can update you later on what we get approved for. But the hope is we get approved for that entire amount and only owe the 2% in closing cost for this entire project. And they have requested with LKC, Mark Lacey is asking if we could approve this today. He needs some documentation signed off on, so he can submit this with the packet to DEQ before the end of the month, which is coming to a close pretty soon.
All right. Any questions?
So go ahead and move it
To action. All right, it'll be action item F.
And I think, Nick, do you need a couple of minutes to discuss a few things on the?
Yes, please.
So we might be able to take a small recess just before we get to action for Nick, for have a few minutes to look over that resolution that we're trying to work on.
All right, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Thank you.
All right. We're back. We're going to do our action agenda now, and the item A is the proposed amendments to the board rules of procedure. And as you may remember, this was so we could continue to meet remotely if need be, because after the governor rescinded the state of emergency, we weren't sure if we could. This will allow us to participate and vote remotely now. So we have. Is this the same? This is the, let's see, no, this is what Amber just gave me that Nick typed up. I'll pass that around.
It's on the agenda too.
Okay. All right, this is just a hard copy of it. Okay. If there are not any questions about that, I'll entertain a motion.
May I add one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I do want to clarify that the only time you would not be allowed to meet remotely or to attend remotely is when you're acting in a quasi-judicial function, where you're hearing like variance use type hearings or personnel hearings. There's a due process level that it would just be too dangerous. So everything else, though, your regular meetings and that kind of stuff will be fine.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
All right, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item B is the planning board appointment, and at the last meeting, the board nominated Tori Mabe to the planning board for the Snow Creek Township position. I'll open the floor for further nominations.
Motion to close nomination.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll poll the board. Mabe?
Tori? Tori Mabe?
Mabe.
Or babe.
Tori Mabe? Unanimous. It passes. Okay. Item C is the fireworks display request.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, D is the intent resolution to fund the match, the county's match for the Mitchell's Meat Market reuse building grant. Also with the addition of the October the 10th public hearing at 6 p.m. So do I have somebody to make that motion?
I motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and we have,
Make a note that I'll recuse myself.
yes. Yep. Okay, item E is the pay grade changes that were requested by the Sheriff's Department, and these would go into effect October the 1st.
Motion to approve.
Do we also need to include the overtime in this, or is that separate?
I would,
Yeah, and the overtime request.
through December 31st.
The temporary overtime request.
I'll keep my motion with the temporary overtime request.
I keep my second with the overtime.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the item F is the resolution with the public works with the water, Danbury, Meadows, interconnection.
Approve.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.